Hey everyone, and welcome back to FSI DFS. I am McKinley412, and today we're going to be breaking down the Sunday main slate on Draftkings. We got a 10-game slate, but no weather issues that we need to report right now. As always, make sure you're keeping up to the minute with those, as well as code-related news. But we can just dive right into the pitchers here with Corbin Burnes right up at the top. Now, Burnes had a start to the season that was historic, to say the least. However, he's kind of come back down to earth here. But while he's come back down to earth, his salary has skyrocketed to the all-time high for this season, for Burnes at least. 11K. He has yet to post over 25 points in his past 5 starts here. He's been walking more guys. His strike rate is down. He's allowing more hits. He's allowing more earned runs. So things aren't lining up here. But if you look at the rest of the slate, there's not much to really love and get excited about. So Burnes should still definitely be on your radar because of the lack of other solid options, in my opinion. But he does give me some pause with that salary price tag and just kind of his form lately. The guy below him, I like way better, Trevor Bauer for the Dodgers here. Now, Bauer, kind of same thing. His past 2 starts have not been great. He's allowed 5 home runs in those 2 starts. But I just like the matchup better. He has a 33% strikeout rate on the season. That's, like I said, these past 2 starts, they've been ugly. But Atlanta, while they do have a great offense, they do strike out a lot against right-handed pitching. Since the start of May, Atlanta is actually number 1, however you want to look at it. They have the highest team strikeout rate in the entire league at 28.4% against right-handed pitching. So we have a great strikeout pitcher against a team that strikes out a lot in the past month against right-handed pitching. And I think it's just a nice matchup here. So Trevor Bauer, I would lean over Corbin Burnes. Not by much, but I would choose him over Burnes. Alcantara, not interested. Dylan Cease, though, he's the next guy to come up on my list here. Cease has a 28% strikeout rate this season. It's not that magical 30% mark that we're loving in DFS, but 28% is still great. He faced Detroit earlier on this season and had a 41-point performance. You can see it here at the end of April. So he has shown some dominance over this team in the past, but the Detroit team, their offense has been better lately. So you do have to take that into account here. It's not going to be a walkover. Excuse me. So again, with him, the same with Burnes, same with Bauer. His form lately has been a little dicey. So there is some concern there. You're kind of seeing a trend on this slate. Pitchers, they're either not a great pitcher, they're in iffy form, or they're in bad matchups. I'm not really thrilled with the pitching on this slate, but those 3 are clearly at the top: Burnes, Bauer, and Cease for me. After that, you get kind of into no man's land here between Cease and next thing I'm going to talk about is Singer. But everybody in between those guys, they either don't have a great strikeout rate. We're talking a strikeout rate below 25%. Or if they are above 25%, they're just in a really gross matchup. You know, I'm talking about Garcia here against Toronto, Matz against Houston on the opposite side of that game. Velasquez, he has the highest strikeout percentage of any of these pitchers in between, but Velasquez's hard hit rate is almost 50%. Now, for a ball to classify as a hard hit, that means it has to have an exit velocity over 95 miles an hour. Hard hit. And almost half of his batted balls have been hard hits. If you just take that back to the past couple of his starts, since the start of May, it's north of 50 hard hit rate. So there is concern there, but we all know that he does have that strikeout upside. So if you want to go for a GPP fire, go for it. But I just don't like the pitchers in this kind of middle range here. Singer, next guy I said I was going to talk about here. He doesn't have the strikeout rate of the guys above him, like Velasquez or Garcia or such, but he's got a 23% strikeout rate this season, so a little less than we would like. Again, his form lately has not been great. But one thing I do like about Singer is that he really limits the hard contact. Velasquez, I mentioned, is close to a 50% hard hit rate. You'll see a lot of pitchers in that like 30 to 40 range. But Singer is only at 25%. Now he's going up against a Minnesota offense that is really, really struggling to generate some offense. 9 of Minnesota's past 10 games, they have scored 5 or fewer runs. So they have been getting some offense. It's not like they're being shut out or only scoring 1 run, but I think Singer should be able to keep them in check. And at 6.2, that's a nice little discount to where he was just last week at 7.1K, and earlier on in the season when he was also at 7K. So if you're going down to this range here, Singer is one option. The other option that we can talk real quick about is Dunning here. Dunning, like Singer, he's not going to be blowing you away with the strikeouts. 24% strikeout rate on the season. I'll say it here, he does allow a lot of hard contact as well. He's at a 45% hard contact rate, which is concerning. But he has faced this Tampa Bay team earlier on the season. He had 16 points in that. You can see it here. You can also see a bunch of other games where he has 20 or more Draftkings points. He's had a double-digit strikeout game in his past year, and he's all the way been up into the mid 7K range. And now he's sub 5K, and that's really the main reason I'm going after Dunning here, is because of that price tag. I'm not expecting him to shut down Tampa Bay and get me 30 Draftkings points at all, but if he can get me anywhere between, if he can get me 15 Draftkings points, that is fantastic. That is 3 times value, and that is more than what I'm looking for. Anything beyond that is fantastic. So Dunning, I think, is just another solid option here. So just to kind of recap things, like I've mentioned, pitcher is kind of gross on this slate. You're looking at Burns, Bauer, Cease, or at least I am. Burns, Bauer, Cease. You kind of hit the no man zone here until you get down to Singer, and then Dunning at 4.9K is just a great value. So let's look at the bats here and some stacks that we could generate, kind of build some things while doing so. Your highest over-under on the slate is this Toronto versus Houston game. The bats are priced up accordingly because of the high game total and just because of how good these offenses are. Garcia and Matz, they're no gas cans or anything, but they can get hit. Guerrero 5.7, Semien 5.7. Those are your 2 top options for Toronto if you do look at the stats. So I got no problem with that. Houston, same thing. Everybody's looking great. Bregman, Altuve. There is one player in this game that I think if you're looking for some value on the slate, you definitely need to go target, and that is Miles Straw at 2.3K. We saw the magic of Straw and his ability of hitting and also stealing bases, his stolen base upside. And at 2.3K, in the highest game total of the day, I think that is going to be a great and sort of a popular value for many, regardless of where he bats in the lineup. So Miles Straw, probably the top value here, or one of the top values on the slate at 2.3. Outside of this game, though, Houston, Toronto, it's going to be popular. But outside of this game, one team that I do want to highlight here is Milwaukee. Milwaukee is going to be going up against Caleb Smith, who's going to be starting for Arizona. Now, Smith has been in a bullpen role so far this season. He had 1 start, didn't go well. He kind of went into a bullpen role. So he's been only pitching 1, maybe 2 innings in the previous 2 months here. So he's back to starting tomorrow. So I don't think he's very stretched out. I don't think he's going to go deep into this game at all. So we're going to be seeing a lot of the Arizona bullpen. And the Arizona bullpen that is struggling. Looking at the stats here since the start of May, I don't like to go the whole season just with injuries that crop up and everything. But since the start of May, Arizona's bullpen has an ERA north of 5, batting average against 292, and that is the highest batting average allowed by any bullpen in the league in the past month. Milwaukee, on the other hand, they have been hitting the ball very well. They have 13 home runs in their past 4 games. So they've been launching the ball out of the park. So some of the Milwaukee bats that I think we should be looking at here, Yelich, definitely. Narvaez, I love Narvaez. Urias, however you pronounce it, he could be leading off here. So at 3.4K, another phenomenal value. You can see Milwaukee is pretty cheap for the spot that they are in. You're able to go up here and put in a guy like Bauer and put in a guy like Burns. And you're looking at 3.1K. Maybe you throw in Straw from Houston that I mentioned earlier, and they'll bump up to like 3.2, maybe 3.3 remaining. So definitely possible. If the Burns salary scares you a little bit, gives you some pause, maybe you can go down to Cease at 9.4, and that puts you at 3.4, add in Straw, and maybe you're up to 3.6 remaining for the remainder of your bats. So Milwaukee, great spot, great value for this slate here if you want to stack them. I think one of the higher implied totals on this slate is going to be the White Sox going up against Urania. All the stats lead to Chicago having a fantastic game here. And if you've been watching these videos, you know that I absolutely love the White Sox as a team. They've just had some great value. They have some great pop. But I don't know. There's just something in my gut that just doesn't feel right about this situation for them. And it might be a chalky team that I fade. I'm kind of scared saying that just because of the matchup and all the numbers there, but something just doesn't sit right with me here going up against Urania. But if you do want to play Chicago, they're going up against Urania, who doesn't strike out guys at all. He has one of the highest walk rates in the league. The Chicago White Sox, on the other side, produce the most walks. How would you say it? Their batters get walked the second most in the entire league. So they're probably going to be getting on base here. But I don't know. Maybe it's because they've burned me in the past recently, but I think I might be going limited on my exposure to the Chicago White Sox here, even though they probably will have a very high implied run total. But Anderson at 5K is great. I'm still sad that Vaughn and Madrigal got bumped up in salary. Definitely a bummer. But one guy you could look at for some more salary relief today is Jake Lamb. I don't know if he's having like a resurgence this season. What year was it? 2017, 18, whatever it was, where he had like 37 home runs and then he just fell off the face of the earth. But Lamb's been hitting well lately. Launching the ball over the fence, hitting some extra base hits, and producing well for 3.5K. So look there if you're going for the White Sox, but I think I might be limiting my exposure on them. Final team that I'll be looking at, and I kind of highlighted them earlier, and that is Washington going against Velasquez for Philadelphia. I mentioned it earlier. Velasquez is allowing a lot of hard contact. In the month of May and beyond, his hard contact rate is above 50%. And for it to be hard contact, that means an exit velocity over 95 miles an hour. So Washington, I think, is going to be in a great spot here. I don't think they're going to be very owned. Now, it's tough to get excited for Washington here just because their offense has been putrid lately. I think they've scored 5 runs in their past 3 games combined. And then you look at their salaries and you're at 5.8, 5.2, 4.6. Tough to get excited for an offense struggling like that. It's even more tough to get excited for them when the salaries look like this. So GPP here, but I'll give it a shot. You know, I was all over Atlanta against Kershaw, and that's going very well right now. So, but here's my call here: Washington against Velasquez. So if you go Washington, you know, Turner, Soto, I think you got to get those guys in there. Always a big fan of Harrison here. If you want to go with that lefty-righty matchup, you can go Schwarber as well. We all know the power that he can bring. And you're probably not going to be getting Bauer or Burns. Bauer and Burns. But you could get one of them, and you might need to go down to a guy like Dunning here. You do that, you're looking at 4K remaining for the rest of your bats. So you could go in some of those more expensive Houston, Toronto, Chicago White Sox bats, Milwaukee as well. But if you don't want to go there, if you put in Singer, you're looking at 3-6. So it's totally possible. You're probably not going to get two studs if you are stacking this Washington team. But it's still possible. You can get around it. Straw is a great value. You know, Lamb at 3.5 is great. Milwaukee has a lot of cheap options as well in a great spot. So that kind of wraps things up here. It's a large slate, so you know there are teams I didn't cover that are also in good spots. Just because I didn't cover them doesn't mean that I'm not on them at all. But yeah, for pitcher, it's not my favorite slate here. Burns, Bauer, Cease, Singer, and Dunning, just to kind of give you a wide range of pitchers. And then for bats, Milwaukee, Houston, Toronto, obviously, Washington. And I think Chicago is going to be very popular and a high implied run total, but I am a little hesitant about the White Sox today. So that kind of wraps things up. Good luck in your contests this afternoon. Hit that thumbs up button, drop a comment down below, and we will see you in the next video.